Injury-wise, not a whole lot to report right now. Like I said, most of the came out of the game pretty clean. We'll have some guys in a report. We'll rest some guys. The same procedure as we've had. Anticipate most of the guys that have played in the game will be playing again on Sunday. So we'll see where that's at come today and then the rest of the week. And then just one other note, this is the Salute to Service Week for us. So it's a cool moment for us to be able to celebrate military veterans. It's a really cool thing the NFL does. And we had a bunch of guys out here playing flag football in the indoor last night, which was really good to see. So it's a cool moment to salute and observe and appreciate all the people that work in our military. So excited for that this week here at home, and I think it'll come out. For Baker's parents, Darrell Baker's parents, both military members will serve as the 12th Titan this week. So that'll be pretty cool for him and for us to have his parents there. So without further ado, go ahead.
Everybody's watched what Brian Flores' defense has done to opposing quarterbacks all year long. Mm-hmm. Can you explain it in simple terms to the average viewer what he's doing that's making it so difficult?
Yes. One, good players. That's the first thing. Those guys do a really good job on defense, and just the personnel in general. I think Jonathan Grenard is maybe the most underrated edge player in football right now. I mean, he's playing fantastic. I think he's really, really good. And they got a collection of veteran players that are smart. They can handle the scheme. They're really intelligent between Stephon Gilmore and Harrison Smith. I mean, it's a good group. Ivan Pace is really jumps off the tape, particularly as a blitzer. He's a really good player. So good players is the starting point. And then you add the multiplicity. And what I mean by that is they can play their base structure fronts against your 11 personnel. They can play base, and they can play nickel, and they sort of have this complexity that they like to present to you. And on top of that, they'll present 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 guys on the line of scrimmage, all in threatening positions. They'll bring all out pressure, or they'll present the same exact look and they will drop out, and they'll play some version of 2 Tampa, some version of 3. So they do a really good job of marrying their pressure looks to their dropout looks. And so you have to have an answer for the max pressure, because if you don't do anything, you're going to get sacked. But then they also have the complement where whatever they're trying to get you to do, then they drop out and play coverage, and now you're in max protection against a full coverage unit. So you're lessening the amount of guys you can get out in the pattern because you're worried about the protection, and then you're also having to block those pressures when they come. So just a really smart scheme. Really, the multiplicity creates a complexity to it. You have to in the run game. There's multiple fronts, multiple spots. Obviously, with Flores' time in New England, you see the shades of a lot of that in terms of their multiplicity of their fronts. But really well coached, really well designed scheme, and obviously have made life really, really hard for quarterbacks thus far this season.
Just getting here. Do you know where you'll start him out?
He's a guard.
Yeah,
he's a guard. He's here. He probably won't practice today for the same reason. The last couple of guys we brought in just flying late, early, all that stuff. Just won't put him on the field today, but he'll get going pretty quickly. He'll be in meetings here this morning and this afternoon.
Complex, that scheme that Flores uses, and you have Levis, who has a lot going on in his mind, processing, et cetera. How do you go about getting him ready, and what do you tell him, to expect?
Well, you have to play our rules too. It's a little bit more about how we execute and what we do, as opposed to trying to get too caught up in everything that they do. And you have to have a patience involved in it. It's a difficult scheme to get ready for, so he's going to have to make sure he's spending the time, and we're making sure we're putting him in position to have the answers when he needs them. And that's our job, to get him to that point. Try to make it as simple and easy for him as possible, because he's going to have to diagnose a lot of things on the field that are challenging. So all those things are going to be really big factors in his ability to have success against his defense, and I think we'll put together a good plan for him.
He was more anticipatory.
I'll come right back.
Okay. Did you find that against the Chargers he was much more anticipatory in his throws and delivering the football on time, because it looked like he was letting the ball go before guys were getting out of their breaks like he's supposed to, as opposed to being late, maybe like he was earlier in the year.
Yeah, there's a lot of things about that game that were encouraging. That was one of them. You know, the ball came out on time. It was accurate. And again, there was some tight window throws that were aggressive in nature, and that's what you want to see from him and quarterbacks in general. But Will did a nice job, and I think that'll only get better as he plays more. I think he learned some lessons on some of the sacks on when and where, and you can hold on to it and when you should be quick to get rid of it. And those things I think are really big learning experiences for him. But I was really pleased with a lot of the things he did in that game. It was a lot of growth from the early part of the season. So hopefully we can continue that. It's a tough test this week against this defense, but I'm confident in where he's at.
Day, kind of the struggles on the right side of the line. I mean, it's pretty clear that the tackle has been an issue. Do you need to see more from right guard spot as well?
I thought Dylan's played really, really well. Gotten better every week up until this point. I think the injury and missing some practice time in a game, I think hurt a little bit of his momentum. I think he's capable of playing better than he played in that game, certainly. But I thought he's really shown some growth and improvement. I've been pretty happy with how he's played over the course of the season, especially over the last month or so. And I just think that it wasn't probably his best outing, but I feel pretty good about what he's shown so far.
Will took a couple knocks on that shoulder over the course of that game. Any effects from that, and you expect him to be full all week?
I do, yeah. No effects as of right now. Nothing that's shown up, nothing that he said, and we'll see in practice when he's throwing it. But that was part of the reason why, I was really adamant about him being 100% when he went back out there. Is that's what playing quarterback looks like, and you have to be able to absorb those and take those, and not have to have it be a lingering effect. And so I think he's as sore as he normally would be after a game, but no ill effects on his shoulder at this point.
Back in watching that game, Levis was very efficient for the most part, but what are some of the next step things that you would like to see him do?
I think the sacks are part of it. Knowing when to get the ball out, knowing when it's okay to hold on to it and try to wait for something to come open, which I think he was managing in that game a bit. There's a couple times where we could have got 3-4 more completions and another 30-40 yards and 3 or 4 less hits on him. And so that's one of the things I tried to impart was that I'm trying to help you as well with some of the calls, trying to get the ball out of your hands so you're not taking hits, and that's by design. I want you to get the ball out of your hands so you don't take those, and that I think was a really good process for us to go through in the game. I think he understands it much better. We have to be better in the red zone as an offense in general. That third down, that 3rd and 2 fail down there was a swing for us that we needed. We needed 7 points in that game in that spot. And then the other possession we had in there that we didn't convert on, we kind of penalized ourselves out of it, where we were in pretty good position, end up with a makeable field goal range, and then we penalize ourselves almost all the way out and we miss a field goal. So I think our execution in the red zone, and he's a part of that, it needs to be a lot better for us to have a chance to win games because we're going to need probably at least one more touchdown than we've been scoring, try to get us in that 24-point range to have a better shot to win these games.
Designed runs for Will, at least in that football game.
Yep.
Is that something that you can expand off of in the pass game as well, or is there more to do in the run game off of that?
Both. I think one of Will's strengths as a player is his mobility and his size and speed, and those are things that we'll use to our advantage. And again, he's not, I'm not going to run him 30 times a game or anything like that, but there's a time and a place for those things, and I think it's a skill set that he has that benefits our offense, and so we have to find ways to use it. And he can use his feet. He's good on the move. Those things are all areas that we can continue to install, if you will, in the offense at this point.
Shoulder, do you think it was good for him to maybe take a few weeks and regroup a little bit and come back fresh?
You'd have to ask him really how he felt about that. I do think just how things had went in the early portion of the season for him, that it probably was a benefit mentally to stepping out of that spotlight for a second and being able to just sort of watch the offense operate differently. So, yeah, I'm sure there was some benefit. And, again, how much there was for him, I think you'd have to ask him. But certainly think there probably was something positive that came from that.
Given the red zone struggles that you've had, do you have to try to manufacture a few more shots than you've taken, especially with Will back in the lineup, to try and get a few more explosives?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need, some explosive plays. But the thing that I always caution quarterbacks in particular is that you don't want to go hunting. So you don't want to go hunt explosive plays. You got to take them when they come. we call plays that have chances, and sometimes they get covered, and we just need to make sure we're being smart with the football. But the ones that you do get a chance, you got to hit. The one that we hit to Calvin, for example, those are the ones that help you. And then explosives come in different ways too. You have to be able to catch and run. Sometimes those are where a lot of explosives come from. So when we get in space, we have to be able to create something more than what the catch would allow for the moment. They got to break a tackle and get 10 more yards. Those are how other explosives get created. So yeah, there's an element of explosiveness that we need to keep finding ways to use and get more of. But we also have to just execute some of the normal stuff in the red zone better than we have as well.
Talk so much about this year being about finding out about whether Will can be the guy moving forward. Do you think 8 more games is enough time for you to know?
Hard to put a timeline on that. I think for me, I'm looking for things every game, every practice. Those are all part of it. But yeah, I think he improves the play that he had last week. I think we're all going to feel really good about how he's played the position through 2 games back, and we're just going to try to keep stacking those games.
How key is building on that into the second half and showing, putting all these pieces together and finding the end zone in the second half to help show that kind of improvement?
Yeah, I think that's, we have to be better than we've been in the first part of the season. And so for us to score more points, like I said, another touchdown a game roughly is probably, we've been in position to score those, and we haven't, and thus have not won as many games as I think we are capable of winning. But that's going to be big. I mean, the quarterback's job is to lead us down and score points, and we need to do more of that to give ourselves a chance to win. And that's going to be a big part of what we look like over the second half of the season.
You think quarterback Sam Darnold not coming off of not his best performance this past weekend, but looking at his body of work this season, what has allowed him to really kind of elevate his play and also the play of his unit?
Yeah, I think Kevin O'Connell does a really nice job offensively, both in scheme and in coaching the quarterback. I think he's had a couple of guys play there over time, and they've found ways to win games with whoever's been playing. And I think that's a testament to what they do offensively and how they coach it. They got a good staff over there, and you see Sam's experience show up. He's been a couple places now. He's learned some different systems, and I think you see him being able to put some of that into practice with their current system. They got good players to throw it to, which also helps, and they got a good football team in general. Which a lot of quarterbacks, when you place into a good team, there's opportunities to excel, and I think that Sam's done a really nice job getting the ball to the guys that need the ball and throwing accurately and throwing on time. So he's a big reason why their record is what it is. And then their defense has been very opportunistic and put those guys in advantageous spots with the amount of turnovers they've created. So it's sort of all working together for them the way that we would like to work together as a team as far as all 3 phases, making the plays and putting each other in position to have success. And Sam's capitalized on it.
We talked Monday about silent count issues on the road that keep showing up. There's so many other things that keep showing up, the coverage issues on special teams, the penalties, the lack of pass rush, the second half problems. For all these things that keep showing up, is it an inability of the players to do them? Is it an inability of the players to learn it? Is it a struggle to coach the corrections? Why do so many issues keep showing up?
I think they're sort of all game by game issues, for one reason or another. The face mask penalty that knocks out of field goal range. We jumped off sides. I think most of it was, Leroy had a tough game with the silent count in the game, and that those are things that we work on every day. We work on it every walkthrough. When we go on the road, the noise is playing during practice. It's not for lack of intent to improve those things, and we haven't transferred that stuff from practice to the games in a manner that's acceptable enough at this point. Coverage unit wise, I think, the kickoff one was unfortunate. We got guys on the ground, got knocked off and took out some few guys in return. But, the punt coverage was against the best punt return team in the league. Set a second in franchise history in the coverage day in the net. So there's been improvement. There's things that have gotten better. I thought our punt coverage was outstanding in this game. So, not everything's terrible. There's been improvement. Guys have done a better job. And again, I pointed out Trey Avery and Justin Hardy as guys that have really allowed that unit to get better. And then the second half of the game, we went down and kicked a field goal, and we scored a touchdown, and we had 4 possessions. And so, we scored on 50% of our possessions in the second half, and we had two drives derailed by the penalties. And so those things got to get cleaned up. We got to find a way to keep ourselves in manageable down and distance, and not 3rd and 14 and 3rd and 23 in those 2 particular drives, and give ourselves a chance to convert. But things you got to get better at for sure, but things that also I think we've had some improvement in as well.
When you think back to your time in Denver, first year with Fox, or maybe first year in Cincinnati, what were some of the signifiers you saw that things were starting to turn around, the culture was starting to be built, and are you starting to see?
Yeah, absolutely. I am, absolutely. I think if you look at some of the markers over the last, our last 5 game stretch, really since our bye week, where we've improved and where we've found success. I think we're 7th in the league in rushing over that time. So that's an identity that we've sort of leaned into and built on. I think we've done things. We're getting better sort of under the surface. And I know everyone judges on wins and losses, but there's a lot of things that are really positive for me as a coach. And as I look at our locker room and how we do things, and the way guys approach their work, and the intensity that they approach it with, and what it's like every day in the building, those things are all really where you hope they would be. And we got to find ways to translate those things into wins and losses. But I see a lot of really positive things that, no one's going to want to hear when I stand up here, but that's not really my concern. I'm concerned with the guys in the building and where we're at, and I feel really good about that part of it. And we just have to keep coming and keep making improvements and trying to find a way to win some more games.
Challenge
on the
of
fact that you think Will has benefited from the fact that you guys have always said he's the guy when he's healthy, as opposed to maybe some other teams in the league that have kind of flipped back and forth. Do you think that there's benefit to that confidence-wise for him?
I hope so. I hope that's the case. There is something for quarterbacks to know that they don't have to look over their shoulder necessarily, in terms of their mindset and their preparation. And I've always felt too that when guys, they feel that like, I could get the hook at any time, that there's an aversion to maybe making a throw that's aggressive, because you don't want to get to the point where you're being judged on that when you're trying to just play the position. So, and that's just from my history with dealing with quarterbacks and how those guys' brains work and what they think and how they think. So there's certainly, I think, a confidence factor when you get put in those spots, and that you're going to be allowed to make some mistakes, I think, and it does help most quarterbacks, I would think.
When the number 1 team in the league at allowing pressure when blitzed faces the number 1 heaviest and most successful team at blitzing, how would an offensive play caller go about remedying that? Do you just line up 7 linemen every time you go out there?
No. There's you have to have balance and vary it. Their scheme is really sound. Their pressure package is really well put together. So you just have to make sure you're varied enough offensively and how you do it. Don't get yourself into situations where you're inviting big pressures. 2nd and 10. 3rd and 10, areas where defenses are much more apt to try to come after you because they know you got to hold the ball. So the 1st and 2nd down efficiency is a big part of it. Being able to run the ball is a big part of it. And then when you got to protect, you got to protect. You got to be able to know who to block, and then know how to block them, I think, are the 2 most important parts. And it's a challenge, certainly, and we'll make sure that we have a good plan and we have good answers for Will and for our offense. So we don't necessarily put ourselves in as much harm's way, as little of harm's way as we can when it comes to the pressure packages that they can deploy, and they deploy it often. So we're going to have some good answers for it.
Last one.
Thanks. Brian, what's been the challenge for you in growing as a play caller with so much variance in who's available and who's on the field for the offense?
To me, that's the job. That's what play calling on game day is all about, and putting a game plan together is being able to adapt and adjust to whoever you have and find ways to put them in situations that are advantageous, and we have a chance to have success offensively. I think that I've learned a ton. I learn something every game about any myriad of things. There's a long list every week that I sort of go through and find ways to improve it. But I feel really good about where we're at and how I've approached it, and how I've found ways to use guys in the game. And then our staff's fantastic on game day, and they're a huge help to me as well of making sure we can manage all those things. So it's been really good in that regard. And I feel like every time I step out there, I get better at it.
Brian said he saw some things in the game, even though you guys didn't win. He said he liked some of the things that you showed. Did you agree with that and evaluating yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Some throws I haven't been able to make this year or had the opportunity to, so it was good to connect on those. Some tight window throws that felt like, I could get off, which was good to feel that and be confident in those throws. And running the ball was encouraging too, getting that kind of part of my game out there. So a lot of good things to take from it, just not enough.
How did you feel physically after Sunday?
Good, a little beat up. I mean, just like everybody at this point in the year, I was not lucky to have a few weeks to kind of let my body get back. Right back into the swing of things. So feel good right now, but definitely had a little bit of soreness that I'll work on throughout the week.
Seeing from the Vikings, I guess on Sunday, what have been the biggest challenges they present?
Yeah, no, they're great. They're a great team. They're where they are for a reason. I think the biggest challenge for us is just the multiplicity of looks that we're going to get from them. They'll get to anything from anything. They want to give the illusion of pressure a lot of the time, and we're going to have to be able to react post snap, kind of just relax our eyes, feel the space of the defense, and feel like we got some good plays to exploit those areas that we think could be there.
How did you feel that went in this past game, like pre-snap, what you're seeing versus what they were showing you post-snap, and how you were kind of able to diagnose and work through that?
Good. Yeah, I mean, I think I had a good idea of when we had the looks that were ideal for what we were trying to get drawn up, and kind of when there weren't, and how to kind of get us out of jail. So a couple of good opportunities there came up. Felt like we did a good job of handling the looks regardless of what we got.
How do you feel that process is going for you as far as like making that decision, take the deep shot, the check down, move in the pocket, those different things?
Yeah, it's going well. It's just making those plays when the opportunity presents itself, and it's me doing a better job, which I feel like I have done, of understanding when that opportunity is there. That first touchdown, I feel like that was a good example of it. Could have taken an underneath ball there, but how I felt the structure of the defense, I knew we had the chance to get over the top, and I knew I had time too. I felt really good with the protection, so I was able to hold on a little bit and let it go. So those are things that come up that I'm gonna have to continue to keep getting better at if this offense is gonna keep rolling.
With that game, like you did a good job, on that throw you mentioned, holding the safety so that would open up. Is that an example of you kind of like taking the next level? And if so, like what are some of the other things you could do to take that next step?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I was kind of doing a little too much on that rep. Like I could have got it done without even the little shoulder turn, whatever. But, there's certain plays where, if you're at the end of the game and you got to, maybe squeeze a ball in on that second level where you're going to try to move somebody on that first level, where that could come up. But, that's not something you're necessarily going to be wanting to do out the jump. First series, you take those throws when they get there, and you react to how the defense reacts throughout the game. So just got to keep getting better at knowing those situations and making the throws when they present themselves.
Brian, how much since the bye, even if it hasn't resulted in wins, it feels like there's stuff under the surface that's progress for you guys. What do you feel like some of that stuff's been?
I think just being able to get the reps. At this point, we've got a whole lot of concepts that we believe are important for this system for us to be able to go out there and succeed on Sundays, and we're just now getting to the point where we're kind of checking the boxes on all those different concepts. So those few weeks where I wasn't there, I was able to see the progress of the guys in all the rooms kind of getting more comfortable, getting in and out of the huddle with a little more confidence, feeling good about the game plans. And this week it's going to be more emphasis on that than anything, of just focus on us. They're obviously going to give us a lot of looks, and you can spend a lot of time trying to figure out what potentially could be in front of you. But at the end of the day, it's going to be more so our jobs, our responsibilities, and everyone getting to the right space in the right time.
How do you feel like, as far as timing goes, it felt like it looked like you were doing a lot better on anticipatory throws, like hitting the guys as they were coming out of their breaks and timing the throw and the catch up?
Yeah, I think it's just trusting the timing of the play and what the coaching staff asks for us from the quarterback position, or what they expect the timing or the footwork for the ball to be. And then I think there was examples of some really good reps of balls timing up kind of exactly how they are supposed to be on paper. And it's not always going to be like that. Someone gets jammed, you got to get moved off a spot. But it's cool to see a play or a route develop and be completed exactly kind of how you draw it up.
Speaking of like one of those routes and really building some connection with Calvin Ridley, for you to be able to start that, does that give you some confidence moving forward in that connection that you were even trying to start even from the start of training camp?
Yeah, for sure. It was cool to see that development, and it's going to be a bunch of different types of throws that we haven't been able to put on tape yet that we know that we can be really good at, that we're excited to kind of put out there. So those types of throws, they take, reps, and they take work to get good at, and we're going to continue to work on them. And it was cool to have one of those come to life on Sunday.
Then last year in camp, during training camp, help you any for this as far as recall goes, and how does that help you maybe?
Yeah, for sure. I remember scrambling in there, for whatever 24 hours before our first practice against Minnesota, and we got out there just like trying to prepare for all the different looks. And obviously you're not going to be able to do that jumping into a practice with them that next day, but it was cool to kind of get that, hey, like, heads up, this is kind of one of the more crazier defenses that you'll see in this league as you start playing in it and understanding the different types of schemes. And Flores has done a great job wherever he's been to take that and make it his own, and try to mess with quarterbacks. So I'm going to try to do the best that I can to not let it mess with me.
Has it helped you, Will, that through everything this year and through your struggles or whatever, that they have constantly said that you're the guy whenever you're healthy? Does that help in terms of your confidence as opposed to maybe some other teams who have kind of flipped back and forth between younger quarterbacks?
For sure. Yeah. No, I mean, I know I'm the guy. I come in here and work and try to earn that job every single day. I know that it can be taken away from you at any point. So try to make sure I keep that in mind, and at the same time just have the confidence knowing that regardless of what happens, like, I'm this team's quarterback and I got to come to work and be ready to go. So it's great to feel from everybody in the building, and I just got to keep doing my job to, keep earning it.
How do you feel like last year, when he was with Houston last year, Jonathan Bernard sacked you 2.5 times. Now he's with a very blitz-heavy defense. What's the mental preparation like for you for this game, knowing that they're going to be throwing everything in the kitchen sink that you go throw?
Yeah, I can't be thinking about it. Just reacting and knowing when the pressure is kind of getting there. That internal clock's got to speed up and just to get the ball out. So I'm going to find ways to get the ball out and help our guys up front in different ways. And just going to be on me to feel it out and know kind of when the opportunities are there to take that second or third hitch, or when the ball's got to get spit out a little faster.
Part of the preparation for the answer to that pressure that they're likely to bring is success on first and second downs. Is that part of the emphasis this week?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, even second down, like, you get them, get back on track situation, they could very easily jump into some of those third down looks and try to get you frazzled, right there on second down. So we got to be ready for those situations, but hopefully doing a good enough job on those first and second downs to not be put in those situations. So like you said, got to be able to run the ball efficiently, take the throws when we can on first and second downs, so that we're not caught with a 14, 15, 23 and 3 drives like last week. So can't play football that way. Got to keep it manageable on third down.
So blitz happy as the Vikings can be sometimes, does that create potential for burn plays if you can execute correctly to burn them for a big play?
No, everyone's going to find their ways to beat zero however they can. The danger with them is that you don't know when it's going to be zero. You don't know when they're going to drop out of it or when it's actually going to come. So we're going to try to find ways to have answers both ways. In different ways. So like you said, there might be certain types of throws behind the line of scrimmage, down the field, what have you, but we're going to try to feel out throughout the week, what we feel like are our best answers, and when we are facing those situations, we can hit them in the mouth.
Well, where did you feel like your confidence is at? Did it help looking back to get a few weeks to kind of reset, beyond what you were able to get physically out of the ground?
Yeah, no, I feel good. Able to reset physically and mentally was good for me, I felt like, and didn't feel like I ever lost my confidence, but I definitely built it throughout those weeks. So I was able to take time to improve on certain things in my game off the field, and then also obviously get healthy. So coming back on the field, not limited in how I was throwing the ball, that got me a lot of confidence back. When I was able to get that ability to throw the ball back, I felt like got my swagger back a little bit and felt better out there.